FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
Welcome. You are listening to the Financial Survival Network. I'm Kerry Lutz. And, well, you know, we do a lot of work with mining companies, particularly juniors exploration companies. And when you look around the world, you see the low-hanging fruit is gone. But nonetheless, the opportunities out there are phenomenal. And the fact that there are companies with incredible pedigrees, deep benches as far as management is concerned, and they're trading at really inexplicable discounts, really gives you hope going into what we presume to be is the next bull market in precious metals, and therefore, by extension, the mining sector, the junior mining sector especially. We've already seen big run-ups in the majors, and obviously the juniors' time is coming. And we are thrilled to have on with us 2 veterans of this industry who've succeeded over and over again. I'm talking about Marshall Koval. Marshall, you are CEO and Director of Luminex Resources, and also Leo Hathaway, Senior Vice President, Exploration. And hey, it's great to have you both on. What I find most interesting about the two of you is you've been working with Ross Beaty in the Lumina Group since 2004. So we're going on 2 decades here. And that type of loyalty, longevity in these type of companies is really unheard of. Isn't that very rare, Marshall?
Yeah, it's really rare to have a team together this long, and I think it's a testimony to the success of the group. Basically, the Lumina Copper story was a real success where we raised about $195 million in the market and returned about $1.6 billion to shareholders. And then we've continued on through a series of countries. And basically, us being attracted to Ecuador, it was really one of the last systematically unexplored geologic terrains in the world. And we saw back in 2012, 2013 that the country was turning around potentially. Oil revenues were down. It relied on oil, and the country had been opened up from previous punitive fiscal regimes by the Correa government. And the current government, Moreno, has really opened up things, and it's a premier destination for exploration for both gold and copper. And that's sort of the story of the Luminex. We have 3 key assets, 2 world-class partners in Ecuador. We're advancing the Condor project ourselves, and we made a major discovery at the camp zone recently, and Leo will talk about that in a bit. But we also have JVs on our Tarqui project with BHP. They're the operator, and our Pegasus properties with Anglo American. So we continue as a group, and it's the same business model, add value to these large-scale assets, de-risk them, and monetize them, and that's been the Lumina Group story.
Hey, so when we talk about plunging oil revenues, recently we've seen the energy market literally implode before our very eyes. We saw contracts go negative where sellers were actually paying buyers to take their product. Unheard of before. That's got to have had a major effect on Ecuador and made them all the more anxious to see these projects come to fruition.
Yeah, you're talking about the negative futures contracts on oil, and really beyond oil, Ecuador doesn't have much of a base. It's a dollarized economy, so it's really reliant on foreign investment. There's some agriculture, there's some tourism, but really as we move forward into the future, mining becomes much, much more critical to foreign investment within the country, and the country really needs that. So we've seen the government move to improve the fiscal regime, the regulatory regime. And, Ecuador isn't a mining country historically like Chile and Peru, but there has been mining in the country. So Basically, what we see is some major mine developments have come into place in the last quarter of 2019. Fruta del Norte gold deposit went into production. That's 35 kilometers north of our Condor project. And then the Tarqui project, the Mirador project of tunneling mining, which is near our Tarqui and BHP projects, the large-scale copper projects. So you're starting to see mining having an effect on the economy in Ecuador, and we think there's a bright future there.
Yeah, and effectively now they need you more than ever because their options are shrinking, and employment in mining, high-paying jobs, especially for the local economy, many benefits. So moving along, you've hit the over 5 million ounces milestone, and this project, really looking like a tier one project, right?
Yeah, we've had some exploration success recently, sort of over the last 6-8 months. We've been drilling at the Condor project. There were about 4 million ounces of resources prior to this new high-grade discovery at the camp zone. And basically, the camp zone is a near-surface, more than likely an underground target with higher grades than we've seen historically at the site. And it's open along a strike length of over 1.1 kilometers. And we've only tested about half of it at this point. So we're continuing. We actually have one drill going there right now. When the COVID crisis hit, we had gotten ahead of the whole issue, stopped drilling temporarily and put protocol in place. We haven't had any COVID cases in the camp, and we just started back to drilling about 10 days ago. Ecuador has deemed the mining sector as an essential industry. So we're continuing with exploration, and as we get comfortable with our safety protocols, we're going to ramp up. We have 2 drill rigs on site, and we're continuing to drill in the camp zone area, but we have 2 other targets, the Soledad Bajo and Prometedor. And Leo could talk a little bit about what those new discoveries mean for us.
Right. So Leo, the significance of these discoveries, and it seems like it's just the beginning.
Yeah, well, if you step back and look at the region, as Marshall said, you've got Fruta del Norte, which sits about 50 kilometers to the north of us, where you have what we would call an intermediate epithermal system, hosting 9.5 million ounces at high grade north of 7 grams a ton. And we're in the same kind of system, so we feel we know we're in a very promising belt, and we're in the right kind of system. And in the camp zone, we found, as Marshall said, higher grades than we found elsewhere on the project previously. And we have about 1.1 million ounces of gold in the resource we recently put out, and that's open to the northwest, to the southeast, and also the depth. And at the moment, we're stepping out to the southeast in an area called Soledad Bajo, where we have the drill running right now. And that area continues to the southwest for about 1,200 meters until one of the other deposits that was previously drilled occurs, which is Soledad, where there's around about 300,000 ounces. And then that continues beyond Soledad to another project, Prometedor, which is 4 kilometers away from the camp zone that hasn't seen any drilling, and where we're finding high-grade gold samples at surface and similar geological conditions to what we see at the camp. So we're quite excited to be drilling in that direction. We really don't see any end to the potential right now. It's really just an evolving story.
And the grades are looking really good, aren't they?
Yeah, and what we found in the most recent hole 29 that we released, we're actually finding higher grades to depth, and we need to understand that area a bit more. But in hole 29, we intersected 21 meters at 4.26 grams gold, which is 17 meters down the hole, which is some of the thickest and highest grade intercepts so far from the zone. So there's potential for grade to increase the depth as well. And when we get the second drill up and running, we'll start investigating that as well.
All right. Pretty exciting times. Well, you really dodged a bullet with the COVID and not negatively impacting the drill program. Obviously slowed it down a bit, but didn't stop it dead in its tracks like so many others. And what milestones, Marshall, do you see coming forward in 2020 for Luminex?
Yeah, let me answer the milestone question, but I want to back up and emphasize something, a little bit more that Leo talked about. We're really in the early phases of discovery and fully understanding this whole epithermal area, the camp zone and the previous release resources at adjacent deposits, Los Cuyas, Soledad, and Enma. And, the thing that's pretty amazing to me, if I look at the region that we're operating in and exploring in, if you go from where we're at Condor up to Fruta del Norte, and then, another 30, 40 kilometers north of Fruta is the Mirador, and our Tarqui project is there. This is the most highly mineralized belt within Ecuador. And it kind of reminds me of the days of Northern Peru copper when we were in Lumina Copper. Northern Peru had a property called Galeno adjacent to Yanacocha, Mingasconga, Michiquillay, and that was one of the most highly mineralized districts I've ever seen and worked in. And if you flip over to where we're at in Condor and Fruta and this whole region, it's unbelievable, the mineral potential here. And, we're starting to look at the Condor project in the context of, can we define a development project and maybe move forward with a PEA? So we're doing metallurgy. We're doing this sort of work right now. We're looking at initial mine planning and geometry in the camp zone and looking to see if we can define a project where you start in the camp zone and you bring in some of these other adjacent deposits, Los Cuyas, Soledad, those sort of things. So that's a catalyst that as we go on, we should be able to define the project. And if we move to a PEA, we'll start to see more valuation out of the market. In addition, you still got the catalyst of potential future discoveries here, which we think we'll see. And in this rising gold price environment, it really speaks to the fact that the company is severely undervalued at this point. And we're just talking about the Condor project. We have quite a few other assets within the company, but both BHP at Tarqui, they're going to spend $42 million over 6 years to earn 60%. They can earn an additional 10% to spend $40 million more. And that basically takes you to a production decision. And Tarqui is one of our most prospective copper companies, or copper deposits that we found to date. So we've got that. So any discovery there is a real catalyst to drive the share price. And BHP plans to be drilling at the end of this year. We had a lot of rock outcrop and sampling work that we had done at Tarqui, and we had a lot of plus 1% copper there. And then at Pegasus, Anglo, they have to spend $57 million over 7 years to earn 60%, and they can take it to 70% by taking us to a construction decision. Anglo's spent quite a bit of money, done a lot of work, and they have several drill targets defined. Their first one is the Medusa target, and they plan to be drilling that this year. So any discovery in the copper space will drive the share price. We as Luminex are focusing on the Condor project. So I think we have a lot of optionality to gold and copper prices between all these assets. And if you just look at the BHP and Anglo deal alone, we're talking $100 million from partners that were spent from 2018 when we initiate these deals through 2025, and that's non-dilutive to the shareholders. So, we think it's a really good value proposition that isn't fully recognized by the market at this point.
Yeah, and it's kind of ingenious because these are effectively what you call earn-ins, I guess. They've got to spend the money to get their share. And so they're really motivated to do this. And obviously, all the geology on both projects there has obviously got them very interested.
100%.
Yeah. So structuring these joint ventures, there's got to be a real art to it, isn't there?
Yeah, we've gotten good at it over the years. I think for us, I think when you go back and you look a bit at Luminex as a whole, and I think part of what the market struggles a bit with is, is this a gold company? Is this a copper company? What is it? Well, it's really both. And it's an exploration story. I mean, we're moving forward with exploration. We've got really highly prospective targets, and Condor is the most advanced, and we may be moving towards the development story there. So, I mean, we're really excited about what we have. We've got some of the key projects in the best areas within Ecuador, and we're excited about our future.
Yeah, for good reason too. And if past is prologue, then investors in Luminex are also going to be very excited, and probably not that much further down the road. So you really want to go take a look at luminexresources.com. That's the website. Sign up for the newsletter so you'll find out the latest information as soon as it hits the market. And we should also mention that it is traded on the Toronto Venture Exchange under the ticker symbol LR, and in the U.S. on the OTC, LUM like Mary, IF like Frank. And wow, it sounds like once we get the COVID thing behind us, Marshall, Leo, you guys are going to be really busy on this project as well as others. I mean, the projects for Luminex, they're pretty extensive, and you're going to have your work cut out for you.
Yeah, I think just in closing here, Kerry, we're really excited by it. Like I said, we've got a management team that has the ability to execute, track record of doing it over and over again. Over the last 15 years, we've had 7 companies in the Lumina Group that have been taken over and acquired. And, we are in the position that we have the ability to raise money, finance, and we have a scenario where just in the BHP and Anglo alone, over $100 million of potential partner investment. And we look at ourselves and we're trading at about 47 million Canadian market cap. So, and then if you add the 5 million ounces of gold onto the story, we basically are being valued, if you look at just gold alone, at about $5 per ounce of gold in the ground. And that's undervalued as well. So we think there's a really good value proposition here.
Yeah, and not to mention the fact that you've got access to capital because of your past successes, because it's a Ross Beaty company. So it's not just a question of having dreams. You're able to finance those dreams and make them a reality. And that's what makes Luminex such a great investment proposition. That and the fact that it is dramatically undervalued, and the fact is that Ecuador needs Luminex and companies like it more than it ever has in the past, and that's why you guys are so well situated and exactly in the right place at the right time. Well, best wishes for 2020 here. I hope once the pandemic is past, then we can all really get back to business. Although you guys are still pretty much at business, little delay in plans, but nothing major. And these delays happen anyway. That's I think the most important thing for you to realize. So, hey, really appreciate Marshall, Leo, you guys coming on. Good luck for the rest of 2020. We'll keep our fingers crossed and hope that Luminex really hits stride and realizes its immense potential.
Great. Thanks, Kerry, and all your listeners. We appreciate it.
All right, guys. Thanks so much, and good luck.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.